Good evening and welcome on the Sunset Safari. Isn't this an absolutely fantastic way to start? My name's Brent. I'm going to be your guide. We have Brian on camera. We have Scott and Jandre on the other vehicle. So, for those of you who are new, we are looking at lion cubs live. We came to check where we left the lions on the sunrise safari, and during the day, obviously the mother has gone and collected those little bundles of joy. So, apart from being live, you can actually ask us questions about these tiny little lion cubs that are right next to us, and you can do that by sending us an email to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So, at the moment, they are wrestling and tugging on each other. Isn't that absolutely fantastic? So I know there was a bit of concern this morning that possibly what had happened to them during the night. So obviously they were very well hidden by their mom, and they've survived the evening. And sometime during the course of the day, she's gone to fetch them and brought them to the west, where the rest of the pride are lying. At the moment, the mom and the one female are lying off almost due west of us. We can't really see them, we just see a belly through the bush. But these three little guys are lying between the two big males. One on either side. There's one fast asleep there. And the other fast asleep over there. And then there are two more lionesses lying in the quarry bushes behind us. The one nice thing about lion cubs, as you can see, a big male lion or a big lioness, is when they're sleeping properly. But with cubs, there's always a little bit of going on. So even though they've probably been very still and they slept from whenever they were left last night till now, so even though they're not with mom and it's hot and they're a bit tired, there's still a lot of playfulness going on, a little bit of rough and tumble. There we go, roll over, play with sibling. The temperature at the moment is about 27 degrees Celsius, which is 72 Fahrenheit, and that is not deterring these little guys from having a game. Look at that, isn't that amazing? Notice how instinctively, even in these plays, they will go through that for that throat hold, for that strangulation hold on their siblings. And as I say, a lot of lion hunting behavior is instinctive and not learned. Oh, looks like someone's going to go say hello to Dad, or not potentially Dad. We'll see how tolerant, or did bravery run out? And it's unbelievable how tolerant these big male lions of these little guys, clambering all over them. Hopefully we'll get to see some of that just now. So for a little lion cub, there's not many places that's safer to be than lying next to a big male lion. There's very little other animals in the bush that would try a fight with a big male lion. Oh, here we go. Very gingerly. We'll see how tolerant the male is today. Didn't hear any growls or notice anything, so maybe that little one's deciding discretion is the better part of valor. Go rough and tumble with siblings, probably a bit safer than a big male lion. There seems to be paws and legs and necks and ears everywhere, all over for them to bite. Those little white fluffy bellies. could hear a little bit of growling there from the little guys. Oof. Enough of this nonsense. We'll see how long it takes for the other to decide that you can't go lie by yourself without being harassed. You can see they are quite nice fat bellies. They've had a good long drink from mom. Predator's milk is very, very rich. It would probably taste quite disgusting to us, but if you're a little lion, I'm quite sure it's absolutely delicious. Isn't this a wonderful way to start the sunset safari on a Sunday? Spending time with these little guys. Quite interestingly, I've mentioned on the sunrise safari that they are actually lying in the exact same place that I've had the Nkahuma pride lying before. So we've often talked about lion territories, and territories is probably the wrong exact word. I would probably say home ranges is a better description, and they are not set in stone, and these animals do cross across to each other's home ranges from time to time, but there will be a sort of core area that the others will not generally move into. You can see all those nasty little biting flies around his face. Hi, Sharon. Welcome, Sharon. Lovely to have you on the back of the vehicle with us on this sunset safari. Sharon has made a comment that we are trying to kill our viewers with cuteness, and that is our aim, especially when we have these adorable little ones with us. So for those of you wondering about the size, they're probably about the same size as a domestic house cat at the moment, possibly a little bit heavier. And even a little cub like that could give you quite a bite if you had to try to pick it up. So we're going to give you a break from this absolutely adorable sighting, and we're going to go from some of the youngest members of our extended Djuma wildlife family to some of the older members with Scott, and we will see you a little bit later with another dose of cuteness.
Well, from cute little lion cubs to some of the bigger, older and tougher animals we get to see out here on Djuma. There's a large herd of bachelor bulls, the Cape buffalo, and what a beautiful scene this is. We're at Buffels Hook Waterhole, and we were pleasantly surprised when we arrived around the corner to see all of these bulls scattered across the edge or around the waterhole, and it's so good to have you with us. My name's Scott, and this afternoon I'm teamed up with Jandre on camera. Now, as you can see, they're all very, very relaxed, and we are probably not going to expect too much more movement from them for about another hour or so. It's still quite warm, and that is why they choose to relax in the heat of the day. Even though it is winter, it still gets quite warm, and what they like doing is chewing the cud and drinking and wallowing around. So take a close look. There's two actually across the way that are having a bit of a nuzzle with one another. You may even be able to hear the horns clashing, even though they are playing very gently. Well, I'm going to put out a quiz because there's something missing from this scene. A certain animal and a certain noise that comes along with that animal. So while we sit here and you can listen to how silent it is, send your answers to who is missing from this equation to questions@WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Very, very interesting, and I only noticed that a few moments ago. I'm interested to see which one of you will get the answer right first, so send them through as quickly as you can. Now, even though we can expect these buffaloes to remain fairly relaxed here for quite some time, other animals may come down to drink, and I'm almost thinking about spending an hour or so here just in the hope that we may see elephants or other animals coming down to drink. Who knows, a leopard could come onto the scene. There were tracks in this general area this morning, not very close to here, but close enough to bump into a leopard, that's for certain. And even if there were no tracks that we know of, that's not to say that there's not one here, even as we speak. Really looking forward to this evening's fireside chat with all of you. And just a reminder, it's for the last half an hour of the broadcast. And we're going to be playing some highlights. My highlights of the week were seeing the Anderson male leopard. So you'll see a short clip on that. He's a brute of a leopard. And watching the Inkahuma Pride hunt buffalo was another one. So that's another clip we're going to look at. And then the third is Sindile, a young male leopard who we saw hunting. We had an awesome sequence of him chasing down some dwarf mongooses. And if there's any questions you can think of relating to any three of those clips, or anything you may want to know about those specific animals, the Anderson male, the Inkahuma Pride, or Sindile, Shadow's cub, approaching 12 months of age, please send them through now, and that way we will be ready for the campfire. And sadly, James is not going to be here to play the guitar, but I believe Brent is going to be touching on a little bit of folklore, so an interesting story shall be told. Well, speaking of leopards, we've just got an update from Nige. Thanks, Nige, for sending this through to us. And apparently the Nkoro Rangers, who traverse an area south of Djuma, spotted the quarantine male leopard, who is one of Karula's sons. And he's spending less and less time on Djuma, sadly, but good to know that he was seen. I was chatting with Sean from Arathusa, and he told me he actually also saw him this morning. And he had been chased up a tree by, I'm told from Nige, elephants at some stage, but also from a pack of wild dog. So he had an interesting morning, young quarantine. And Sean said he managed to see a very good patch of fur where quarantine had been in some altercation. We're not sure exactly with who or what animal it was, but he had quite a large chunk of flesh and fur taken out of his back. Nothing too serious, but it left a big open wound, and Sean said it's actually healed now, but you can see that the rosettes haven't quite lined up properly, so it's a very distinctive mishmash of leopard coats, quite similar to what would happen with a zebra. If a zebra's rump gets scratched by lion's claws, sometimes the stripes grow back and they are out of sync, Anyway, enough about zebra stripes and the quarantine male leopard. Thanks though, Nige, for that update. And you've got some really awesome action with Brent, so we'll keep here and let you know when anything else comes along for a drink.
Welcome back. This little guy is trying to get brave enough to play with the big male, but the big male sneezed and gave them all a fright. So here they come. They're about to crawl, very gingerly sniffing around his head. There we go. It's amazing how tolerant. He's got a little bit of a grimace on his face. Nothing too serious. But I think if they persist, that might change into quite a proper growl, just saying, "Leave me alone, guys, I'm sleeping." Fortunately, oh, they saw that big yawn and was like, "Oh, I don't know if this is a good idea." So obviously, I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering about the chances of survival for lion cubs in this area. So, depending on the research you read, I've read a few different papers, and it can be as high, the mortality rate can be as high as 67%. So nearly 2/3 of all the cubs born are killed, and generally by other male lions during pride takeovers. But on average, for the last few years, not for this exact area, but an area very close to us and open to us in the Greater Kruger, it's been about between 40 and 50%. So half of the cubs survive. Oh, very, very, very carefully. Guys. But you see very little aggression, no real growling or snarling, sort of like, "Come on, guys, I'm sleeping." But we'll see what happens. It might turn into a proper growl if they keep continuing to harass the hairy-bellied Matimba. Now, isn't this incredible? To give you an idea, all this is happening less than 6 foot from my knee. As you can have a look, here's my knee sitting up against the vehicle, and that is less than I am tall between us and these lions. Isn't it incredible that they completely ignore us and continue on with their activities with us right here? So they probably were on their own for over 12 hours, and they spent the majority of those 12 hours in probably almost comatose sleep, keeping very, very still as to not attract other predators. And now that they are in the safe confines with adults around them, there's a lot of playing going on. So we've got a question from Joan in the UK. I hope you guys are having a summer as we are a winter out here, Joan. Joan would like to know, what is the largest killer of lion cubs? And we have the largest killer of lion cubs in shot there with us. It's male lions. Generally not the adult male lions that are in charge of the or the coalition, or that are in charge of the pride at that time, but it'll either be nomadic males moving through an area. So those who watch regularly, like Junior from the Nkahumas, he's getting to a stage where he's probably going to become a nomadic male, and he would be one of the greatest culprits at killing lion cubs. And it is during pride takeovers. So when a new coalition of males come in and will push these older males out by fighting or whatnot, the first thing they'll do is actually kill all the cubs that are under about 2.5 years. or any male cubs for that matter. Doesn't matter how old they are, and there's very good reason for this. So what that does is it immediately puts the females into estrus again. But quite interestingly, some recent oh, sorry, I'm getting attacked by sweat bees. Some recent research has shown that these lionesses, even though they will come into an estrus sort of 10 days after the cubs are killed, it is almost a false estrus. And it's also been shown in leopards. So what'll happen is they'll come into this false estrus, the males will cover them, and then nothing will happen. The cubs won't generally, not always, but generally they won't have any cubs from that. And there's a very important reason for this. The females do this to see whether these male lions are going to hang around, because in those times of turmoil when males are changing regularly, you can often have 2 or 3 sets of males fighting over one particular area that might have 2 or 3 lion prides. So once the cubs are killed, the females will come into a false estrus, mate with these males, but they won't produce any cubs from that estrus cycle. And only the next estrus cycle, about 3 months' time, will they actually mate and conceive normally. And that is just a protection thing. So, well, there's no point in having cubs again if these males are not going to last. So they will wait for the next cycle, and if the same males are still there, then they'll mate, and then they will produce cubs. So if the males change again, you quite often have another one of these false estruses. So basically they'll only do a true estrus when the next set is sort of established, the next set of males is established. And that's to stop having, because obviously it's quite a lot of pressure on the females' bodies and whatnot, having cubs to produce milk. They have to hunt more, they have to eat more. So this is a sort of fail-safe to make sure the next time they do produce cubs, it is with males that are not going to disappear in a few weeks. Hi, Jeff from New Jersey. Welcome on this wonderful sunset safari here in Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. Jeff would like to know if I ever observed a single male lion being able to take control of a pride. Yes, I have, Jeff. So it's not always the case that you have coalitions of males that are dominant over prides. It very much depends on the area. So a lot of animal behavior is area specific rather than species specific. So there will be certain areas where single male lions are more common, and these big coalitions like we get in this area are not so common. So this particular area, the central Greater Kruger National Park, is a very, very coalition dominated area. So most of these male lions will be in coalitions. As you can see, the other male lying off to the right there. And if I remember originally, this was a coalition of 5, and they split. These 2 sort of took the southern climbs, and the other 3 went north. Oh, and the male lions just rolled over. And you can see all the flies on his face. So it'd be quite interesting if we can get in a bit close there. Oh no, but here comes trouble. Is trouble feeling brave enough? Nope. Looking for a bit of shade. We can get in close on those, around his mouth and that. Have a look whether they're actually flies or the same things that are attacking Brian and myself, which is a completely different thing. Let me just have a quick look. I might have to get my binos out for this. So those are actually flies, but it does look like there might be some sweat bees there, or Mapani bees is another name for them. If you just grab my binos and have a quick look. So most of them are flies. The bigger ones you see are flies, but there are some really tiny, tiny little guys hovering around, particularly around his mouth. and those are actually called the Mapani bees or sweat bees, and they're a small black stingless bee, and they can become incredibly frustrating to people, specifically at this time of the year. So what they do is they're attracted to the moisture, and at this time of the year where there's very, very little other moisture around and all the water holes are drying, they actually come to drink the sweat from the edge of your hair, or even drink the fluid in your eyeballs and or anything around your mouth. And then they're not completely harmless, they're just highly, highly frustrating. And the one problem is, if you kill one, you swat it, they release a pheromone that lets all the others know that there obviously is something good there, because something has killed me to stop me getting it. So they'll all rush to your face and you just get hundreds of them around. Fortunately, they're not that bad in this part of the world, but other places I've been, like the Zambezi Valley in Zambia, Mapani Fault in northern Botswana, and the Myombo woodlands of central Zambia, they're incredibly bad, and you can literally have hundreds of thousands buzzing around your head at the end of the dry season. See, even that little lion cub was listening attentively to the story of the sweat bees. Hi, Sharon from Pittsburgh. Sharon has got a really, really great question. The fact that we've now got the two other older Styx lionesses with us, apparently this is not the mother, but sort of an aunt, those other two, of the young two Styx breakaways. It is a very good question. What Sharon would like to know is that means, are they starting to rebuild this pride? A very, very interesting question, and there is no real right or wrong answer. They could split again tomorrow. They might stay together. And the fact that the Nkahuma pride has been pushing quite far south recently, and there was a bit of a dust-up to the south of us. I know you guys were with James when there was hyped-up lions all over the place near our southern boundary. That could mean that they are feeling pressure from the Nkahuma pride and have decided to join up again. And I think there are still 2 or 3 other Styx lionesses that are split from these that are still not present. But that could be the reason that there are so many other lions around in the area, that they feel the need that 4 adult lionesses is obviously far stronger than 2 adult lionesses. And if we look at the Nkahumas at the moment, they're on 8, so they're on 5 adult lionesses and 2 sub-adults who not too far off adulthood now, and old Junior. And even though Junior is quite a young male, in a fight between female prides, Junior would be worth his weight in gold, because he is that much physically bigger and stronger than a lioness, even at just over 3.5 years old. Probably not even 3.5 yet, just over 3 years old. So it could be a reaction to the other lion prides in the area. And also now with the Tsalala breakaway pride or the Mangen pride coming through from the west and spending some time on Arethusa, it does mean the Styx territory here in the center has been getting a little bit smaller. So it is possible that they might feel the need to have more animals in the pride to be able to defend against other female prides. The interesting thing is now the males would pretty much stay out of this. Sometimes they might get involved, but most of the time they wouldn't. And the fact is that because, well, let's just take the Nkahumas and the Styx pride now, they both fall within the Matimba males' home range. So both those prides fall within the Matimba males. So if they were to meet, the Matimba males are invested in both prides, and it would be interesting to see which pride they thought was, or if they thought that far that it would be worth defending the Nkahumas over the Styx because there are more lions in the Nkahumas. A very interesting thing, but obviously we can't say for sure, and that's what makes watching animals over an extended period and lion dynamics, as especially now you've got very different dynamics, males between males and females between females. So very interesting time to be in the Sabi Sands with this sort of a lot of movement of lions happening at the moment. But we will definitely keep watching and try and interpret as best we can what's going on. Hi, Genevieve from New York. Genevieve's got a really interesting question that is quite a long-winded answer, so you're going to have to bear with me while I gab on for a while. She says, with wild dogs, they let the pups eat first, or even when the pups are at the den, they will go back to the den and regurgitate their own food to the pups. Whereas with lions, it seems to be the opposite. Well, Genevieve, that has a lot to do with their sort of evolutionary biology. They have evolved in certain niches where the different parental strategies suit their different niches in the environment. So lions being the dominant predator, there is quite a lot of changeover in lion cubs and that, but they're the dominant predator, and for them, their most important thing is to defend their territory and pass on their genes. So if they lose cubs, as long as they can remate, and they're also a polygamous and a polygamous society. So males and females will both mate with multiple partners. Whereas wild dogs, only the alpha pair will mate. So therefore, there's a lot more focus on raising those pups because the rest of the pack members are not going to mate. Whereas here, the male lion will mate with all four of these lionesses, both males, and both females will mate with both. All four females will mate with both males. So there's obviously a greater odds of their progeny succeeding. Whereas with the wild dogs being an alpha monogamous pair that the rest of the pack looks after, they have to make far more sort of a to-do about the youngsters and make a far greater care. So take far greater care, regurgitating, letting the pups feed first till they get to adulthood. And then once they get to adulthood, they fall within to the rest of the pack, looking after the next set of pups. So it's very, very interesting, and it's a bit of evolution, different evolutionary strategies. And so very interesting, but if we look at it from a point of view, there are more lions than wild dogs at the moment, and maybe the lion's strategy is working better. Difficult to say because in a lot of these circumstances there's been a lot of human interference in both wild dogs and lion populations throughout the world. But definitely very, very good question, and thank you very much for that. Looks like playtime's over for a while. Hi, Gerry van der Walt. Welcome back. Nice to have you on a sunrise and sunset safari today. Gerry would like to know how much a lioness would creatures like we are. It completely depends, but generally they would have to kill every 2 to 3 days, the same as they would normally. They could probably last a little bit longer. Normally they could probably last up to 4 or 5 days with just themselves to look after. But I have noticed, and this is not gospel, and anyone who's seen anything different is more than welcome to weigh in on this conversation, is that the lionesses that do have cubs on kills seem to be a little bit more aggressive than they would normally and try fight for more portion of the kill, and so we'll take sort of slightly greater chances in that sort of mass pandemonium that is lions feeding, and continue and to actually fight for more meat and dominate more of the kill than she would possibly if she didn't, because she does know she has to produce milk, and obviously that is quite a load on the lioness, and especially having three very thirsty and fast growing little guys like this, she is going to have to produce a substantial amount of milk. Look at this. He isn't even moving. The male did not even move as he was used as a jungle gym by this little guy. Oh, and there's a tail. Lion cub's favorite thing in the world is another lion's tail. But, oh, you're not brave enough. But it's so big and fluffy. Come on. No. Just going to sleep on the tail. Oh, see, it moved. And there was the mistake. Oh, thinking about it. Thinking about it. Oh, no, too tired. Too tired to even chase a tail. Hi, Carol from Atlanta on email. Carol would like to know a very interesting question. She says this false estrus that comes on with lions when the cubs are killed, is it caused by the cessation of suckling, so of breastfeeding? Quite possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but that would definitely make sense. And she'd also like to know, does this happen if the cubs are killed by a hyena or by a buffalo or by any other animal, not necessarily a male lion? It is, Carol, it's slightly different. So if they are within a sort of stable pride with the dominant males like we have here, so we have the two Matimba boys that are dominant over this pride and have been for some time, if these cubs were killed by a hyena or a leopard or even a herd of buffalo, the female would come straight into estrus within 10 days, but then she wouldn't do a false estrus because it's sort of a stable pride. She would go straight into a proper estrus to produce cubs. And after that little jump across the big male, we're going to cross across back to Scotty, who's got a slightly smaller friend pestering a very old man, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone, and take a look at this little bird. It's on the hunt, and you'll be surprised at how quickly it maneuvers, running along the ground after little insects, and it's keeping Gendre on his toes. This is an African pied wagtail, a very pretty bird that is often seen in and around water, either still water like this or even rivers. And we're still here at Buffelshoek Waterhole. Not much has changed. I was hoping a herd of 400 elephant were going to come and drink, but they haven't arrived yet, and I'm not sure where they could be. That was what I was hoping for. What we have seen though is that there's a hippopotamus hiding in the water, and occasionally every 2 minutes or so he pops up his nostrils to take a breath, and he breathes for about 10 seconds and then goes back under for another 2 minutes or so. We will point him out to you when he does poke his nostrils out again. It really is such a beautiful, beautiful scene. Oh, here he is. Sorry, Jean-Ray. Judy, Heidi and Martha, well done for sending the correct answers through on email, and Virginia, William and Penny got it right on Twitter. It's the red-billed oxpeckers that are missing from this scene. Usually you would hear them chirping away and see them hopping around the buffalo looking for parasites to feed on, but who knows where they've gone. Possibly they've flown across to a larger herd of buffalo with potentially more food. Although, hang on, look, one's just come down. I just heard it land, and it looks like a few more are coming in straight across from us. Well, that was good timing. You'll notice that chirping that is typical of oxpeckers, and you'll see these little brown figures hopping around the buffalo's back. We're quite far from here, and Jean-Ray is at full zoom. But you will see one or two little birds hopping around on the back of the buffalo. So at least a few have come in to help these buffalo and rid them of their parasites. But the oxpeckers in this area obviously have a lot of herbivores around which they can feed off. I'm told you've been having still an incredible sighting with Brent and those cubs. I really wish I could have seen the cubs going up to the big old male hoping for some play, and I'm told he did not even twitch a muscle. This guy's really old, and I'm sure he would have some serious stories to tell us. He's broken off one horn, as you can see. The other one's okay, but look at how little further is on his face. Signs of a very, very old bull. And wouldn't it be great to know exactly how old he is? I'm guessing somewhere around 20 or 20 plus of 20 years. He lived for about 25 years in the wild as a rough age to work off, and I'd certainly put him towards the end of that. The flies are giving not only us a hard time but also him, and you can see his ears twitching to try and keep the flies off his face. Okay, well, I've just got some great news from another waterhole, and that is the one where we have a live waterhole cam, and it's not far from here. It's probably about 5 to 10 minutes away, so we're going to rush across to that waterhole and we will see you a little bit later. Okay, we are in a bit of a hurry because the elephants that are there are drinking and they're not going to hang around for too long, so I'd like to try and get there while there still is some action and before they disappear into some potentially thick bush. I'm told it's a large herd of elephants with lots of babies, and that'll be a great way to start off the afternoon. Thereafter we'll probably head off towards Arethusa and see if there's any further sign of Sindile and his mother Shadow. two leopards that we've been seeing quite a lot over the last few weeks. Afternoon, there's a lot of dust in the air, but that's typical in winter. It's only going to get drier and dustier over the next few months, so I really love the scenery though, even if you are traveling through it at high speeds. Okay folks, well before you guys get seasick by being on board with me, we're going to send you back to Brent and we'll let you know as soon as we're at the waterhole. See you later.
Sorry guys, I'll be with you in a second. There's other vehicles just making their way. Hey Firm, you can make your way as soon as you would like. So we are still here. There's been a little bit of napping going on while you've been gone. And our friend from this morning has decided to come join us. He's back, Brian. He was literally less than a meter from us now. Whether it's the same drongo, I'm not sure. But every time we move the vehicle slightly, he arrives to come catch any insect around us to try and take advantage of us disturbing insects in the grass, the same way he would follow a herd of elephant or a herd of zebra as they move through the grass. Oh, and let's see if I can get one to land on my hand. There we go, Brian. I don't know if you're going to be able to... Oh, yeah, I moved. I'll try to get another one. I'm trying to get one of these little sweat bees to land on my hand, and you can actually see that they are, there we go, on my fingertip. They are not, you can see they're shaped like a bee. They are not, oh, he's taken off. Maybe come back. Here we go. Where'd you go? But so I don't know if you managed to get a look there, but you can see that they're shaped like a bee, not a fly. So this very same body structure as a honeybee, except they are stingless and very irritating, basically buzzing around the corners of our eyes and our mouths trying to get some moisture. And also doing the same to that big male lion who's lying next to us. And to the little guys. But they are far more used to ignoring buzzing little stingless bees than we are. And you can actually see some on his nose there, although no, those are flies. Let's have a look. No, those are flies, but there are those little buzzers, there are stingless bees there, but they are minute. Now imagine being able to sleep with that constant little tickle on your nose. I definitely wouldn't be able to. Oh. That last bout of play seemed to have whacked them out for a little bit, but I'm sure they'll be up and at 'em quite shortly. Hi, Ashley from the great grass plains of Missouri. Ashley would like to know, what is the largest lion pride in this area? The largest lion pride we might see, Ashley, is the Tsalala breakaway or the Mangen pride. I think they are up to about 16 lions now, but we see them very seldom on Arathusa. We don't see them too often, and they don't come as far across as where we are on Djuma at the moment. But that is probably the largest. The largest pride within about 100 kilometers of us, or even less, probably about 60 kilometers of us, is on the eastern boundary of the Kruger National Park. on the great big open basalt grasslands around the Kruger National Park camp of Satara. And last I heard, there's a pride of 42 at the moment in that area. And there's another pride in that area that's about 32, but also has 2 white lion cubs with it at the moment. Hi, Judith from North Carolina. Judith would like to know, what is the height or spring length that a lion or a leopard can jump? I'm pretty sure a lioness would probably be able to do 5 or 6 meters vertically. I'm sorry, not vertically, horizontally. Vertically, lions could probably jump about my height, so 2 meters, 2.5 meters. Leopard can jump higher, much higher. They can probably hit 5 meters vertically and even 7 to 10 meters horizontally. For those who've been watching a while, we saw that young male leopard named Quarantine leap about 3 or 4 meters into the air after a guinea fowl, which he didn't succeed in catching, but he did succeed in getting a paw on, but wasn't able to catch it when he came down. But leopards obviously quite a lot more agile, built quite differently from lions. Obviously lions are much more heavy set. A really big male leopard, like literally some of the hugest male leopard possible, will weigh around 90 kilograms. Whereas a really big male lion can weigh up to 240 kilograms. So well over double the size. Oh, hello. Someone's popped his head up. He's got that dry mouth from sleeping all day. Hi, Jean from the City of Angels. Jean would like to know, do I think the lions ate last night? And I definitely don't. They didn't succeed in their hunts last night. They were all very skinny. The only fat guys are those little guys there who have been feeding off mom's milk. They are got nice round little bellies at the moment. Naughty little things. But they didn't look like they succeeded in the hunt last night. That's one of the reasons I'm very keen to hang around here for the majority of the sunset safari. There's a very good chance that they are hungry enough that they might get moving a little bit earlier than what they normally do. They were hungry last night, so tonight they're definitely more hungry. And they might get going earlier and stash the cubs earlier. I think if they are going to stash the cubs today, there's this thick area down below us here where there's a small drainage line. I think that is where the female would stash the cubs. And if you look beyond this thick area, that is the quarantine clearings through the gap there. But there is a very thick little drainage line between the two. It would be an ideal place for lioness to stash her cubs. Standing by. It's 2 more. You are the third. Sima, could you please take control of the sighting? I'm going to turn my radio off. Don't worry, Abel. I'm handing over control of the sighting to Asima, and I'm going to continue broadcasting. Sorry guys, you now have my undivided attention. Now there's another vehicle there. They can control whoever's coming and going, and you're just stuck with me. So guys, we're going to love and leave you for a little bit. Scotty is with something slightly larger than even a male lion, and we'll be back. We'll definitely be keeping a watch on what's happening with these lions, and if they get moving, we will let you guys know. So till then, we're going to go over the hill, just across to the other side of the quarantine clearings, and join Scott with some large mammals.
Everyone, and apologies for the backwards change you've just come to, but it's going to be worth it. There's a tiny little elephant. I'm just trying to reposition that we can get a good view of. It's hidden in this thick bush, and its mother is the large elephant that you can see in picture. We sadly didn't catch them at the waterhole, but at least we found them. It looks like a large head, and there he is. Look at how cute that is. Tiny little baby. So from the Styx cubs to this tiny little elephant, it seems like we're having a great afternoon with the youngsters here at Djuma. Patty from Michigan would like to know what the Shangaan word is for an elephant, and it's in Ndlovu, but the spelling is slightly different between the different African languages that use that same word. In Zulu it's spelled Ndlovu, Ndlovu, whereas in Shangaan it's spelled Ndolpfu, Ndlopfu, but pronounced very much the same. And good to hear that you are practicing your Shangaan words, Patty. A herd of elephants, or a herd of any animal, would be called a hlampe. So a hlampe in Ndlovu is a herd of elephants. I think I'm going to reposition quickly. It's going to be worth trying to make the most of this sighting before they head into even thicker bush. And aren't we lucky that the Djuma waterhole camera, which is on 24 hours a day, alerted us to the fact that there was this large herd of elephants coming to drink. And for all of you that may have sent updates through, thank you very, very much for those updates. We really appreciate it. If they carry on in the direction that they're going, they're going to end up right at the house where we stay at when we do stay here at Djuma. It's just up ahead of us. Oh, I think we might, I don't know whether to try and get to the smaller. Yeah, let's go on to the smaller calf. There was another one on our left. What I try and do is position us in front of the elephants in the direction that they're moving in the hope that they will then be able to casually come up to us rather than us intruding on their space. We allow them to decide how close they would like to come to us. And because there are lots of youngsters in this herd with very protective mothers, it's always better to err on the safe side. So I'm taking on a little bit of a roundabout trip to get there. Jennifer in Toronto has noticed something quite interesting, and that is that the fur or hair on the end of the big female whose little calf we were looking at earlier, her tail is extremely long according to Jennifer. Well, there's a lot of hair on it, and having a look at it now, you're right, Jennifer, I didn't notice that initially, but she does have a very hairy tail. So well spotted, and thanks for pointing that out. The little calf's just coming up towards that little tail. And it's really thick and fibrous. You can actually make bracelets out of the furs or hairs from their tail. Look at how small that little calf is. I hope it continues. It's been headbutting a little branch, but it's sadly obscured out of view. Let me try and... I'll just actually stay here because we're a bit close to be starting up the vehicle again. But the calf was showing its strength and trying to snap off a little branch earlier, which would have been great to show you, but it just goes to show how differently the angles are, even though genre is just behind me. And that's something we permanently have to try and factor into the equation, especially in this thick bush. It's still got a bit of work to do on the control of its trunk. As you can see, it's still a little bit clumsy. It's probably a year of age or so. Genre, it might be though, even though the aerial's in the way. The female's giving us a good inspection here, and she's smelling the vehicle. Look at that. Absolutely awesome. I wonder what it is she can smell on here. We certainly don't have anything tasty on board. So it's not food that she can smell. Apologies for the blue rope in the background, but we can't move here. She's very close behind us, and really did want to show you her smelling us. Look at the little calf now, is also doing it. Awesome. And imagine being able to point your nose in the direction that you would like to smell from. Very bizarre adaptation. Wonderful, and here comes another one, possibly one of the elephant's offspring from a previous generation. And young elephants will spend many, many years with their mothers. They build very strong bonds. And up till about 5 or 6 years of age, they're always in within about 50 meters of their parents. They trail behind the newest born. Now, what should we do next, I wonder? Just trying to work out what the rest of these Ellies are doing. Let's see if this young bull doesn't give us any attitude on the way past. They seem very, very relaxed. So, not expecting too much playfulness out of them, but you can never tell, especially the young boys. They sometimes try and prove a point to us, and it can be quite a laugh to watch them come charging up to us and then jam on brakes at the last moments. You'll notice how many thorns there were on that branch that he's feeding on. It's an acacia. And let's watch how he goes about this. Is he just trying to obtain the bark, or is he actually trying to eat the leaves? I'm guessing he could just be going for the bark. They are typically feeding mainly on bark at this time of the year, and also roots, occasionally leaves, but bark is making up the bulk of their diet. Sadly, we can't see what's happening to that branch, but I think he could be eating the whole thing, thorns and all. Although oh, look at that. Oh, imagine having to chew on that. What is he? Is he going to, or is he going to drop off all those thorns? Let's take a close look here. They've got very large flat molars that they grind up their meals with. And their tongue, I'm sure, is also very tough. So it's not that they can't process thorns, but just the thought of it makes me cringe. Oh, look at all of them there. Oh no. He's going for it. Oh, are we going to get some action? Are we going to get some from him? Or is he looking for his next meal? That was so awesome to see. A very prickly meal. Well, just got a question through from Mavis on Twitter, and she would like to know if the thorns of the buffalo thorn will hurt the elephant's mouth. Well, that was a clear show of what the elephants think of little thorns. It didn't even slow it down. So I've got a very tough mouth that can process the thorns. Now we can see this individual, the same one that we were watching earlier, who's feeding on more typical food for this time of the year. And what he's doing is he's going to strip the bark off this round leaf teak and twist it all the way through his mouth from one end to the other. Oh, well, not so much in that case, but they usually strip it right till the leaves and then drop it down. But one thing that I've noticed, regardless of the time of the year, they will always mix up their diets and will feed on a variety of different plants and plots of plants as they move through the bush. Well, while we get into another good spot, we're not going to leave these ellies just yet, but it sounds like there's a little bit more action across with Brent, so we're going to rush you off there and we'll see you with these elephants a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, the cubs have now come so close and we can't move, and then we can barely see them. I'm going to try and pop my shoulder down and you might be able to see some tails over there, but they're too close for me to move without disturbing them. There we go, you can see a little tail. Oh, coming back. There we go, all three are coming back. And you can see how close they are. You can see here's my steering wheel, there's the microphone. So they've come this close to us. We haven't gone that close to them. So it's very important in these type of sightings. The vet, he's not chasing them. It's quite a bit further away than we are. They're just running around and playing, as you can see. they're off to go play with one of the males that's lying in front of us there. Oh, he doesn't want to be played with. Doesn't look like they're giving up yet. That flicking tail. Hi, Agnes from Hungary. Welcome on this sunset safari, Agnes. Agnes would like to know, aren't we scared to be so close to a big male lion? Well, no, Agnes. Fortunately, most of us have spent the most of our adult lives, and myself, my adult and child lives, around male lions. I think it's far more dangerous to be a little lion cub, judging from that little reaction to the male lion. I'm just going to pop my head up. I'll see what's going on. Unfortunately, they are too close for us to move at the moment. Don't want to disturb them. So they're just off near our front right bonnet. So about where Brian is there, but they're actually then closer to the vehicle. You might just see an ear or a tail pop up occasionally. You see that grass stalk moving? There we go. So Agnes would like to know, aren't we scared being so close to a big male lion? Not at all, Agnes. Lions and people have quite an interesting relationship. And we evolved at about the same time, about 200,000 years ago. So man evolved into the dominant diurnal predator, while lions evolved into the dominant nocturnal predator. So even on foot, if you walk into a lion during the day, 9 times out of 10, it's going to run away from you. And I feel very confident walking into wild lions. You won't find me playing with tame lions though. So any lion that's been brought up by hand or whatnot is far more dangerous than a wild lion. It means it's lost their natural instinctive fear of man. So what a lion sees, because their eyes work differently from us, is it sees the bipedal figure, the upright figure of man. It recognizes that as another predator, and during the daytime it recognizes us as the dominant diurnal predator. So 9 times out of 10 when you walk into lions on foot during the day, they'll run away. Now from a vehicle like we're all in at the moment, it's a completely different scenario. A vehicle's only been around for just over 100 years, so they do not have an instinctive response to a vehicle. So also a vehicle doesn't smell like anything natural to them. It smells like diesel or petrol and fluid, and even people have changed how they smell. We don't smell sweaty and smelly from being out in the bush all day. We smell like deodorant and shampoo and and clothes, washing powder and whatnot. So they don't have an instinctive response to us. We're going to move now. We're just letting all the other vehicles move. We've spent an incredibly long time with them by ourselves so far. But let me just finish chatting about that. Now I can pop up. So what has happened is the lions, as long as you drive carefully and considerately around them, they don't have an instinctive response to us. So they're not sure. They know there's something there, and they definitely see movement and whatnot on it. But it's amazing, even if the way we sit like this now, they take no interest, as you can see, to us at all. If Brian had to stand up and show that bipedal figure, it would cause them to react negatively, either running away or becoming aggressive. Obviously, none of which we want. We're here to observe, not to interfere. But it is very interesting how that two animals, human beings and lions, that evolved into their current form at around the same time, have very definite responses to each other. The other thing is, if you get charged by a male lion on foot on a walking safari, everyone thinks they'll run. Most people want to run, but they can't. Instinct takes over and you keep still. It's the most incredible thing. I've watched people, all I want to do is run, but my body wouldn't let me. So it's our instinctive response to our defense against lions. And one of the funny things that people don't understand, and if you think about it a little bit, it makes a lot of sense. Why, when it gets dark, do you want to go home? Why do you feel safe in your house or your little cave? And that is an instinctive response to when we lived on the open savanna. We needed to get to a safe place as it got dark, because the lions and us swap roles from daytime to nighttime. lions become the dominant nocturnal predator. And lions will try eat you at night, whereas they'll run away from you during the day. So Agnes, welcome if you are a new viewer, and I hope that helps give you a little bit of insight into lions and how we can drive so close to them and why we're not scared. But in saying that, we still have a huge amount of respect for these animals, and we'll never push the boundaries too far. So if the animals bring themselves into our space, we'll stay, and that's why I didn't move while those animals were so close to us. But if we had tried to push ourselves into those cub space, they would have run away. So it's very important to learn how to read animal behavior, and we're really lucky here. We've got such a great team of guys who've all got incredible experience and are really great at doing that and making the right decisions at the right time. So we're just going to reposition quickly. We okay there, Brian? There's a stump. Okay. And then he took out the stump, and it looks like we'll survive. So just a quick thing for if there are any new viewers, really welcome. And isn't this incredible that we are able to sit a couple of feet away from these tiny lion cubs live, so you are seeing what I'm seeing at the exact same time. You also are able to ask us questions about what we're seeing, and if you've heard me answering questions, you're wondering how we get those in, you can do them by sending us an email, and the email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. So we're just going to try reposition here quickly. So Miss Jin and Renosta have been wondering, oh, there's some movement going on. Let's just have a look a little bit further here. So you can see there how hungry they are. You can hear the cubs complaining. They're very thirsty. So this is what I was hoping. It is a possibility that these lions might start moving a little bit early today because they are hungry. And the two adults have now got up and they're walking across our face here to where the rest of the lionesses are lying. And the cubs have stayed behind. I'm quite sure they'll follow shortly. So the other three lionesses are lying in a pile just to the left of that female who's defecating. Lots of stretches. I'm going to just move around. I'm not going to go forward because we might scare the little guys. I'm going to go back and around and get in amongst all those females. So there was a question now from Miss Jin and Renostas. They'd like to know whether these male lions might hurt these cubs. Unlikely. There's about a 50% chance that these guys are the fathers. But oh, here comes Brian's friend again. He nearly landed on my head this time, the drongo, taking advantage of all the insects we're disturbing. Let's see if he tries to follow us again. So there is a possibility that they might, at some point, take exception to the cubs and accidentally hurt them with a swat or whatnot. Specifically, oh, there's Brian's friend. He keeps following us around. Brian's been trying to get a nice shot of him for a while with his camera. There we go. Mr. Chongo, we got lions to look at now, so we're going to move around. And it's amazing how adaptive these drongos are, following us around as we move to take advantage of the insects we disturb. But sorry, back to your question, that yes, it is possible that these male lions might hurt these cubs, but generally it wouldn't be. I have seen a male lion eat his own offspring, or offspring of the pride. Look at this little guy following us around. The offspring of the pride he was dominant over, and that's after he had been in a really big fight with another male lion, and he felt that he was quite injured and he needed the sustenance of his cubs to go on to produce possibly more cubs at a later stage. There we go, there's a proper lion pal. You can hear the noises. We'll just wait for the other vehicle. Mom is not having it. Oh, that's not Mom, that's Auntie. That's probably why she's not having it. I think the cub grabbed the wrong teat there. Can you guys hear those noises? There we go, they've got to Mom. They've started suckling again now. Hi, Ron from Scotland. Always great to have you back on the vehicle, Ron. Hopefully Scotland's a bit sunnier than it usually is today. Ron would like to know, under what circumstances would lions possibly react negatively to us on foot? And I presume, Ron, you mean when they'd actually try actively attack us. And normally a lion charge you can stop with a well-aimed shout. Generally, when I do get charged by lions, my language deteriorates quite heavily though. But generally, as long as you don't run and you stand your ground, the lions will stop. Clap your hands, shout. I've thrown sticks, I've thrown stones. Those all work very well. There's a very simple rule with lion charges. A quiet lion is a dangerous lion, and a noisy lion is a safe lion. So as long as the lion's growling at you and making lots of noise during the charge, you're fine. As soon as it's coming quietly, not so fine. But it's very unusual that during the day lions would really make an effort to hunt humans, and generally if this is the case, it could be either a young male that has been pushed out of his natal pride, and especially in areas that are surrounded by communities and sort of free-living communities, free-ranging communities like southern Tanzania and central Zambia. So a lot of pastoral and artisanal farmers that are on the edge of the reserves, and if the area that the lion is pushed out has a lot of other lions in it, there's no real space for those young dispersal males, and they will disperse into the communities, and there a lot of the natural food, sort of natural prey species has been removed, so therefore they start feeding off people and goats and cows and dogs and cats and other things. The other circumstance when this might happen is if the animal's very old or been injured, and it might take a chance to try and get hold of a person, because we are seen as an easier target. So areas that are most famous for man-eating lions and lions hunting people during the day is at the moment southern Tanzania and central Zambia, northern Mozambique, and those areas are probably in this day and age the most predominant man-eating areas, as well as the whole eastern boundary of the Kruger National Park. Estimated since the beginning of the Mozambican Civil War, between 45 and 125,000 Mozambican illegal immigrants have been eaten by lions in this area. There are sort of relatively famous sets of lions that used to hunt Mozambicans as they came across, and generally the Mozambicans used to cross during the day and they were fine. The South African military then upped the ante to try stop Mozambicans coming through, and that sort of created a sort of nighttime passing. And quite often they would use power lines or fire breaks, so long straight lines that come off the road or come off the fence line and go in a long straight line, and they would then come and utilize these to try and move through at night. And lions, and like most mammals, have the ability to learn, and they learned to wait on these long straight roads and feed off the Mozambicans as they passed. While I worked in the Kruger, I happened to see a couple of such incidents. Very sad, but people will go to great lengths to try and improve their lives.